All right, now joining us for more perspective, we've got Mr. Heino Klink, who's joining us live from Washington, D.C. He was a former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for East Asia. Mr. Klink, thank you very much indeed for speaking to us here on WION. Now, the question that a lot of people, in fact, want to know is, in the aftermath of Ukraine having carried out those daring drone attacks, destroying some of Russia's nuclear bombers, people have been asking, how will Russia respond? In your assessments, will Russia continue to do what it has been doing for the last week, or is there something dramatically different that we can expect from the Russian president?
Well, thank you very much for having me. I think, as we've witnessed overnight, is standard playbook of the Kremlin, which is to target civilians primarily in these latest strikes. As President Putin told President Trump during their phone call yesterday, Russia had to respond. I think everybody knew that was going to happen. We saw now the scale and scope of that response, again, being primarily focused on civilian targets. Russia is under some pressure, obviously, by the Ukrainian military's ability to strike deep within Russia. And the Russians have to demonstrate that they still have levers of power to utilize against Ukraine. However, I do not think we are going to see much difference than perhaps an increase in scale and scope of aerial assaults against the Ukrainian civilian population.
Interesting. Now, in your assessment, how would the United States now play this scenario out? Because Donald Trump described this scenario between Russia and Ukraine as two boys who are fighting it out and he wants to see them fight it out for a little more before he in fact steps in with his push for negotiations further. How would the United States under Donald Trump now approach this?
Well, I think we have to see. I think we have seen the tone and tenor of the administration with respect to how they are dealing with the Russians change over the last 100 days or so. I think there is more and more an opinion now within the administration that the Kremlin really isn't interested in peace. And I believe that the Trump administration has as one of its greatest priorities trying to bring this war in Europe to an end. So I think at a certain point,
right,
if the Russians are not willing to negotiate in good faith and are not willing to compromise, that there's going to be additional pressure levied against Russia, both economically and perhaps in other ways as well.
Very quickly, because we're short of time, you say that the American assessment is that the Russians are not ready to negotiate yet. But the aftermath of those attacks and those nuclear bombers of the Russians, do you think the Ukrainians are ready to negotiate?
I think the Ukrainians are, in fact, ready to negotiate, absolutely. But if history is any guide, during a military conflict, the days leading up to an actual negotiations are perhaps the most dangerous, the most volatile, and perhaps the most violent. So I think the Ukrainian operation that we just recently witnessed was meant to demonstrate that Ukraine also has levers to pull that will affect the Russian calculus. And I think it was actually, I view the Ukrainian attack actually as a step towards negotiations.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Heino Klink, for joining us with that perspective there.
Thank you.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.